Hi, this is Sean Rivera from As Yet, and you are listening to and watching on all platforms Something for the Culture.
Robert Johnson, a man who spent nearly 3 decades behind bars, is now a free man. A judge vacated his convictions and the court approved his release last night.
WGN's Christine Flores caught up with Johnson, who talks about his first night out of prison.
Good evening. Johnson was smiling from ear to ear when we caught up with him today. He describes what his first time at an arcade was like and what it's been like to be physically surrounded by family members. While he says he's still adjusting to his new life, he says he still wants to work with those who, just like him, were wrongfully convicted.
I'm on top of the world. I feel amazing. It's unbelievable.
Those are Robert Johnson's feelings after walking as a free man from the Cook County Jail nearly 24 hours ago.
I was laying in the bed earlier and I heard some noise, and it's the noise that you hear when they come through and count in prison. And I like raised up and I'm like, oh, they not counting. I'm home. You know, I don't have to worry about being a number.
Johnson's first stop last night was Grandma's house.
You never left me. It was surreal. It really was. To walk back in that house. Because the last time I walked out of that house, that was the last time I seen that house for almost 29 years.
Johnson was just 16 years old when he was arrested in the 1996 murder of Eddie Binion. Just after 6:30 Thursday evening, Johnson walked out of the jail gates with family members by his side. They made a stop at Dave & Buster's.
Which is a first for me. And I really had a good time. It was unbelievable. At one point, I just got up, walked away from the crowd, and just took it all in. It was a real moment for me.
Johnson was wrongfully convicted of first-degree murder, armed robbery, and home invasion. His defense says years ago, during the trial, there was no physical evidence or eyewitnesses connecting Johnson to the crime. A juvenile co-defendant agreed to a plea deal in exchange for his false testimony.
This kid was facing 80 years in prison and offered 15. And that's the only person to testify against Robert at trial. And the evidence is incredibly weak.
There is an arresting officer that Johnson clearly recalls.
I remember him. He was the motivating force. They followed his lead. All them detectives, they followed his lead. And he did it as if, again, he knew that he wasn't going to be held accountable. And that's the way he moved when he rushed me out of my grandmother's house. Honestly, I wish he can go to prison so he can experience what I did. It was real dehumanizing being in that place.
For Johnson, his partnership with the Exoneration Project is not done yet.
I would like to be a paralegal. That's what I'm hoping. Maybe for the Exoneration Project, right? Yeah, that's something I'm interested in. And trying to help people that have experienced the same things that I have.
Johnson does have a hearing scheduled for March 13th. It is then that prosecutors will say whether or not they will appeal the decision in his case. Reporting in the northwest suburbs, Christine Flores, WGN News.
Well, we are back for another episode of Something for the Culture. I am your host, Jazzy J. And tonight we have a special guest co-host. You might know him from the Honest Hour, Mike Williams. Welcome to the Culture. Can't hear you. Still can't hear you. Well, while Mike is figuring out his... Oh, there you go. You there, Tim? You're on mute.
All right, how about now?
Now I can hear you. Hey, Mike.
Okay, how are you?
Good. Welcome to the culture.
Thank you for having me. Much appreciated.
So, tonight we are talking about a heavy topic that has been a subject in our community for as long as I can remember. What about you, Mike?
Yeah, and it's something that's still going on in our culture.
Mhm.
Um, Unfortunately, it's something we still have to deal with, and we can't make it any better without being part of the change or contribute to the solution.
Correct. Tonight we do have two special guest hosts with us tonight. We are talking about James Brown Henderson from Oklahoma. His case, he was convicted about 25 years ago. He was sentenced to life in prison, and whew, what a story this is. We also have Emily Barnes here. And Emily, welcome to the culture. Go ahead and let us know where you're coming from and what it is that you do.
Well, thank you for having me. My name is Emily Barnes. I'm the founder of Hooked on Justice. We do have an Oklahoma chapter. I'm based here out of Oklahoma. And I'm excited because tomorrow we're having a wrongful conviction day rally at the Capitol from 10 to 2. And James is one of our stories that we are highlighting tomorrow. His family will be there speaking to tell his case. And we're hoping that it brings awareness to his case and he can get some kind of legal help, because he needs to come home. He shouldn't be in there.
Right.
So I'm excited and I'm ready. And like you said, wrongful convictions is horrible. Oklahoma itself, we have had 48 people exonerated who are wrongfully convicted. We have two guys on death row right now. One just got his execution date. They're one of our highlight stories too.
Mhm.
They weren't even the person who committed the crime, and their co-defendant got a life sentence, and they're the ones that actually committed the crime. But the one who didn't commit the crime, they're putting to death. So Oklahoma has a lot of mistakes. Our court system sucks, and it needs to be fixed because it screws people over like James every day.
Well, we're here to talk about that tonight. So, let me just get into what we're about to dive in before I kick it off to our special guest of the hour. Tonight's episode dives into the complex, decades long story of James Brown Henderson, a man who was sentenced to life with the possibility of parole, has now spent over 25 years behind bars. We basically are going to explore the events that basically began January 22nd, 2000. So we're talking about 20 something years ago, guys. The incident that altered his life and the life of those around him, his family, friends, and everyone, will introduce two witnesses, Ronnie Craven and Dyra Malone, whose testimony was conflicting. Um, they recanted their stories, and it's basically a lot of jargon in there that made this case complex. Without further ado, Mr. Henderson, welcome to the culture.
Thank you. Thank you. How you guys doing tonight?
We're doing great. How about you?
I'm okay. Thank you for having me tonight.
Thank you for taking the time out and speaking with us and telling us your story. I'm going to go ahead and give the floor to you to tell us how this began on January 22nd.
Okay, great. Well, for starters, again, my name is James Brown Henderson. And as they just said, I was convicted in Tulsa County back in January 22nd, 2000, for first degree murder. Um, and what actually took place on that particular day, I woke up like normal, and decided when I woke up that morning, my girl at the time I was with, she had left and like went to work or whatever with some friends and left me at the house with her kids. So that particular morning that I woke up, it was just a normal day, nothing special or nothing like that, just me home with the kids. So I decided to get up and fix the kids something to eat and everything like that. Well, as the day progressed forward, her brother happened to come home, and I decided to, go outside and leave the kids with him. So I left and went to the motel room with my friends and hung out with them. So later on that night while we was there, Mr. Cravens happened to show up at the room. And while we was there, we was hanging out and everything like that. And he asked to use my vehicle, which was a normal thing because, we was all friends and everything like that, and we all shared each other's vehicles. Well, at that particular time, I was the only one that had a vehicle. So I lent him my car. Well, he went off and did whatever it was that he was doing. I never suspected that anything crazy was going to happen. So later on that night, I decided to go home and leave my car with them, with the rest of the people that was there. So when I went home, it was, like I said, it was a normal night. I went home, and the next morning I woke up and my vehicle was outside. I didn't think nothing of it. It was, like I said, regular day. So like 2 days later, I get a phone call from my and it's Detective Jeff Felton, and he's asking me to come down to the detectives division. And I'm asking him, like, why do you need me to come down to the detectives division? And he's telling me that he needs to speak to me about, he just needs to speak to me. So I decided to go. I tell him that I didn't have a ride, so they sent the officer to come get me. So he gets me down there, and I gets in the interview room. Everything is kosher. They not acting strange or anything like that. It's normal. They just get me in here telling me that they wanted to talk to me. So I gets in this interview room to speak to these people. They sit me down. They start asking me questions about my whereabouts on said day. And I explained to him where I was at on these particular days. He asked me about my vehicle and who had my vehicle. I explained to him that about that, who had my vehicle on these days. Well, after all of this, he started questioning me about a murder. And I was like, well, I don't know nothing about no murder. So he kept pressing me about this. And I kept telling him, like, look, brother, I can't answer these type of questions because I know nothing about that. And therefore, I decided to ask for a lawyer at this time because he just kept going on and going on about a murder. And I couldn't speak to him about that because I knew nothing about it. So I asked him for the lawyer. Right there at that junction, they stopped the interview and told me to stand up and that I was under arrest for first-degree murder. And I asked him, like, why did you arrest me? He said, well, we have an eyewitness to say that they seen you commit this crime and everything like that, which I knew that that was a lie. So at that moment, he took me to county jail and booked me in. I thought I was going to jail for my warrants because I had some little curfew ticket warrants and little things like traffic warrants and stuff like that. So I honestly really thought that this was just all a game when they first took me to the county. But when I got to the county and they booked me in for first-degree murder, that's when I knew things was real. So, they booked me in on first-degree murder, and I sat in the county jail with me and two other co-defendants, Mr. DeMario Grayson and Ronnie Dwayne Kaufman. They charged us all with first-degree murder. So we sit in the county jail for a total of 4 months. Within this first 4 months, the case was dismissed 3 times due to the lack of evidence and the witness problems because the witnesses was not trying to show up and things like that. Plus, they kept changing their stories at that time. So they dropped the charge, refiled it the same day, and we went back to arraignment, and then we went back to preliminary the second time. After they dropped the charges the second time, they let DeMario Grayson go home due to the lack of evidence. Well, at this particular junction, we was like, well, why is we still here? Because they didn't have no evidence on us. So we proceeded into preliminary. And when we get into preliminary, they actually had a preliminary hearing. And then the judge dropped the charges on us, on me and Mr. Kaufman. So they let us go. They dropped the charges and let us go. A week later, they refiled the charges, telling us that they have found a newly discovered witness, which is this lady, Dyra Malone. They say they found Miss Malone, which happened to be the girlfriend of one of the witnesses that was who had previously gave a statement against us for them to be able to lock us up. And his name was Calvin Harris. So what had happened in the beginning, what happened is unfortunately, Jason Jamal Bell is the victim in this case. And the night he got killed, the very next day, Calvin Harris's house got cocktail bombed by the victim's friends or families or something like that. Well, the detectives went out to Calvin's home to interview him. Well, when they spoke to him, Calvin gave a false alibi and told them that he was with his auntie. The detectives goes to check his alibi. They found out that he was not telling the truth. So they comes back to Calvin's home and asked to speak to his father. They spoke to his father. They asked Calvin, why did he lie? And they asked to search his home. So they searched Calvin's home. And in the commission of searching his home, they finds a ski mask similar to the one that was described in this crime. So they bagged and tagged it. And then they took him down to the detective division to interview him. So when they get him down there this time, he gives up a second story. This time he tells them that he was with Ronnie Cravens the night this crime happened, and that him and Mr. Cravens was sitting on Mr. Cravens' porch observing this crime observing the crime scene as the medical people and the police was down there giving Mr. Bell aid. He said he had no involvement in this crime. So they go to check Mr. Craven's. They go to speak to Mr. Craven about Mr. Harris to see if that alibi checks out. At this particular time, Mr. Craven just gives a whole totally different story. And he gives the police my name, he gives them Mr. Kaufman's name, and he gives them Mr. Grayson's name. And from that point right there, the police decided that we was the people that did it. And they came to arrest us. They went and kicked in my door. They took my girlfriend at the time downtown to the detectives division and interrogated her. They impounded my vehicle at that time, which was the reason for why I ended up going downtown to speak with them anyway, because they impounded my vehicle and I wanted to know why. At that time, my girlfriend provided an alibi on my behalf to the police, which they ignored and swept up under the rug, because still to this day, they never produced that interview. Tulsa County never produced that interview as though they had it. So as of right now, it's standing as though they did not have it. And that was the reason and the premises for how they was able to arrest me, because they swept her alibi under the rug and it made it look like I didn't even have an alibi or anything like that. So due to the fact that these guys was pointing a finger at me, again, they arrested me and took us to jail. And we sat there for the first 4 months fighting the case. And again, they had no evidence on us. They had no murder weapon. They had no DNA. No eyewitness can place me on the crime scene. And still to this day, can't nobody place me on the crime scene. No one came to court and testified to me doing anything. All these witnesses, they only testified to the fact that they were present in my vehicle this night, and they tried to say that I was in the car with them and that I was driving. That's pretty much all they said. They said that they seen me with a gun and a ski mask, but they could not describe the color of the ski mask or who had what kind of ski mask on. Like when it came down to the details, the witnesses could not actually be accurate about none of this type of information. So the only information that they was providing to the court was that it was my vehicle and that they said that I was present in the car. But the crazy thing about all of that is, for these to be witnesses against me, all three of these witnesses have three opposing statements. You have one witness is saying that we was present in the car, but they never heard or overheard any conversations about anyone wanting to commit any type of crime that night. Then you have other people saying that they never seen any weapons or any ski mask or anything like that. And then you just got people saying that they never saw nothing and heard nothing. So you got all of these different opposing testimonies against us, and ain't none one of them saying that we did anything. They just saying that we was present in the car and that it was my car. The police put the story together as though we committed this crime, and they ran with that. So what they did was have these guys come to court and just testified on us to the fact that, just to make those statements that we was present, and nobody even, actually made those type of statements. So when we went to trial, Mr. Craven's got up on the stand and finally confessed to the crime and told them people that he was in possession of my car that night this crime happened, and that he lied the night to the detectives and told them what they wanted to hear because they was threatening him with putting this case on him. So he just gave them some names just to get the case up off of him. He confessed this on the stand, and the DA jumped up at that time, Mr. Larry Ellis, and told the courts to disregard this man's testimony because this man has been telling lies and changing his story since the beginning. But yet this was their primary witness against me. So their primary witness got on the stand and confessed to the crime and confessed to the fact that we had nothing to do with this crime, and that he lied and gave false statements against us. But yet the DA and the court still ignored his testimony. And then Miss Malone, go ahead.
Can I ask a question real quick? Did they
Sure.
ever have find the murder weapon?
They still to this day have yet to find the murder weapon or to establish any type of physical evidence against us to associate us with this case. Their forensic expert, which was Robert Yerton, claimed that he found my co-defendant's fingerprint on the inside door panel of the victim's car, but never produced this fingerprint in court. He just testified to it and never produced it. And it's crazy because the victim that was on the passenger side of the car testified that the assailant had on gloves. So we were saying, how did you get my co-defendant's fingerprint off the victim's car if the victim is telling you guys that the assailant had on gloves? It just don't make any sense. But they never produced any fingerprint to confirm that they located my co-defendant's fingerprint on the victim's car. But that was the evidence that they weighed this case on to place him on the crime scene. So they placed him on the crime scene due to that fingerprint. And then they used these other witnesses to come to court and to testify that I was present in my vehicle that night. So to associate me with him. So they found me guilty of first-degree murder and acting in concert with my co-defendant.
Mr. Henderson, if I can interject for a minute, I got a question for you. So you said there was no physical evidence. What about DNA? There was no DNA evidence or anything?
Nothing. There was no DNA evidence. They issued a warrant for us in the county jail and came to the county and took us back to the old county and administered their test on us. They took my hair samples. They took saliva from me. They took hair from my legs and my head and everything like that. So they got their DNA. They had more than enough DNA from us, from the warrants that they had. And they tested it against 2 coats. They had 2 coats as evidence. They had a ski mask, a bandana, and 2 pair of gloves. So they tested all of our DNA against this material, and all of it came back not a match. But yet they paraded this material in my courtroom in the jury as though it was associated with this case and that they found this on us, even though it was not a match.
Wow. And I have another question for you. The autopsy of the victim, how was he murdered?
They said that from all of my records, they say that the assailants ran up on his vehicle, and the victim was about to get out of his car, and he was shot multiple times instantly. He was shot instantly multiple times. and the assailants ran off. So it looked from the story that they are telling, it looked more just like, like a shooting. You know what I'm saying? But they colored this case as though it was a robbery shooting, so that way they can bump up the charges, because it was just I was charged with just first degree murder at first, but once they dropped the charges on us and refiled the charges, they enhanced my charge and turned it into a felony murder, as though it was a robbery. They tried to say it was a robbery gone bad, so they turned this case into a felony murder, and they tried to file the bill of particulars on us, which is the death penalty.
So, being that the victim was shot, where is the murder weapon? Where are the shells from this supposed gun? I mean,
I don't know. They never found the murder weapon. They never connected any DNA from us to this crime, and they never had no eyewitness to say that they seen us on the crime scene. Nobody ever put us on the crime scene.
Most importantly, what would be the motive? What is the connection between you and the victim?
There is none. I did not know the victim. The only person that I knew that was involved in this case was Ronnie Craven. He was my friend. I grew up with him. He lived in the neighborhood with the victim, and he was friends with Calvin Harris. Calvin Harris and Dyra Malone was Calvin Harris' girlfriend. So this is how all of these people came to play. I knew Ronnie, and Ronnie knew them. So, and they knew the victim. It's crazy because that night that this crime happened, Calvin Harris and Dyra Malone was present at the victim's house right before the victim got killed. They was at his house hanging out, smoking and kicking it with him. And in my records, they say that the victim decided to leave and I guess go to like movie stop to get some movies and to a fast food place to get something to eat. And in that time, is when Calvin and his girl went back home, and when the victims come back to his house, this robbery supposed to had occurred. But I don't have any knowledge of, how and why what the motive was. They just said they turned it into a robbery. It was just a regular shooting at first, but due to the fact that the victim's car had Dayton's on it at the time, and he had music in this car, he had a nice car at this time, they looked at it as though it was a robbery gone bad.
Okay, so they're saying it's a robbery gone bad. Where is the stuff that you supposedly robbed?
He never got robbed for anything. That's why I'm saying the victims in the car said as soon as they pulled into their driveway, he opened his door to get out, and two people ran up on the car and shots was fired. Wasn't no demands made, wasn't nothing taken. He just instantly got shot and the assailants ran off.
So it was like execution style.
Something like that, yes. But the police kept spinning the narrative because they didn't have no motive behind the shooting, and they spun the theory as though it was a robbery because the dude's car had rims on it. So, and that's what they ran with. They needed a motive. They needed a theory to go forward with their case and investigation. So they hinged it up on a robbery gone bad.
So Dyra Malone, because you said she was a girlfriend.
She was Calvin Harris's girlfriend, yes. And Calvin Harris at that time gave multiple stories. He even AWOL before he never showed up to none of our preliminary hearings. He AWOL all the way through. He told his story in the beginning, gave these people our names, told these people that we had something to do with the crime, and then he AWOL. He ran off. He never showed up to court. So when they dismissed our charges, they let us go. When they let us go, the detectives went out and found Calvin Harris and locked him up in juvenile and put him in jail as a material witness. They went down there and interrogated him while he was in juvenile, and they went to threatening him and coercing him from there. He then gave up Dyra. This is how Dyra come along. She pops up 4 months later after the crime happened. Calvin give up her name as somebody that can confirm his third alibi. She is his third alibi. And they went to go speak to her. And when they went to speak with her, she then told them her version, and she said that we was in the car and that she overheard this conversation of somebody wanting to rob the victim for his car, but she didn't know who said it or who said what was said or who said what. She just said somebody said something about wanting to rob Jason for his car. So they asked who said it. She said, I don't know. They said, what was said? She said, I don't know. But she was pressed to actually make this statement against us. She never identified my co-defendant. Even in preliminary, she couldn't identify my co-defendant, which was mind-blowing to me, because in order for your charge to be refiled, a witness has to re-identify someone. So with this newly discovered witness, they had to bring her in, get her statement, and then show her pictures of us so she can then identify us. Well, at that time, she could not identify my co-defendant, but yet they went ahead and refiled the charges against us. How that happened, I do not know.
Can I ask a question?
Sure, go ahead.
What did your co-defendants, what is their sentences?
We got the same amount of time. They gave him a life sentence
Okay.
as well. Yeah.
So
people need to go ahead. I'm sorry. Go
I
ahead.
wanted to know what was in your motion of discovery when it was presented to you.
Okay, you guys hold on real quick.
Sure.
All right.
Can I say
Guys,
something real quick?
Yeah, hold on one second. You guys, please excuse Mr. Henderson. He is currently incarcerated. We are talking to him via phone while he is giving his story of what happened back in 2000. So please bear with him. Go ahead, Ms. Barnes.
I want people to realize we had about 60 cases come to us for this rally. We could only pick 10. Unfortunately, we can't. There's so many, we can't highlight them all. More than half of them were wrongful conviction cases out of Tulsa County. And every one of them cases is based off of a false confession from a witness. No murder weapons. I mean, it's what Tulsa does. And if people really looked into Tulsa court system and look at cases, they're all familiar.
And I want to say it's not just Oklahoma. I mean,
Oh no,
as
it's everywhere.
early as 2024, that was just last year. Do you know the National Registry of Exonerations reported that over 3,400 exonerations recorded since 1989, and that's more than 1,800 are African American cases.
I know. It's sad, and I can say this, and I don't care. I'll probably tick some people off. White people really need to wake up and realize what is going on with our system. Because, yes, white people are locked up, but it's our black communities or the Mexican communities. That is really their targets. And they will set them up. They will set anybody up to get money, because every inmate they get, that's more money in our pocket. And that's really what it comes down to. And you can sit here and fight the system all day long. No state wants to admit they're wrong. They will postpone court dates. Lawyers will drop off. The judges will drop off. I don't know if you know about Richard Gossip on death row here in Oklahoma.
I heard of the name.
2 lawyers. Yes. He's now he's in court right now. 2 judges now have stepped down because they don't want to represent over his case. So he just keeps sitting there waiting on a judge.
In limbo.
Because they can't get a judge now.
That's crazy.
Now,
say that because circumstances in my case is strikingly similar to that of Julius Jones, and some of the elements within Richard Glossop's case, is strikingly dissimilar in my case as well, with them withholding the evidence. Because right now I'm having issues with filing my post-conviction because that statement I need from my ex-girlfriend, they swept up under the rug. because she was my alibi. So I need her to write an affidavit on my behalf to state that she did actually have that interview with the police and that they did question her about my whereabouts and that she did confirm with them where I was and establish my alibi with them way before they even spoke to me. They spoke to her a day before they even spoke to me and got all of that information from her, but yet went forward with proceeding on locking me up, even though that I had an alibi. And then when I got locked up, when I got arrested and locked up, they played as though I did not have one. So they gave me a public defender, and I kept, telling my public defender that he needs to go speak to her. Well, he never did. So my public defender was very ineffective with representing us. He kept telling us at that time that the state didn't have any evidence on us and that we was not going to get convicted and that there wasn't anything that we needed to worry about. And I believed him because I knew firsthand that I had nothing to do with this crime. Yes, the car that they was claiming to say that was used in this crime was mine, but nobody ever testified to ever seeing my car in the neighborhood. These witnesses is saying that they was in possession of my vehicle. I cannot deny that that was my vehicle because it had my name on the paper tag in the window.
Right.
So I cannot deny that, but due to the fact that it's my car, that's the only reason why they saying that I was involved. But you got witnesses testifying to being in possession of my vehicle. They just didn't want to listen to them because those witnesses was willing to give them a story and names of other people, and they was willing to come to court and testify on behalf of that, which is what they did, even though they was giving up false testimony. And the courts knew it. The courts knew it. These guys kept changing their story from the beginning. Every time they came in contact with the detectives, they gave a different version of what happened. And every version, the police just critiqued their case towards that version and kept trying to proceed this case forward, even though they didn't have no evidence. And we kept trying to get the case to get dismissed, but they was not trying to dismiss it. And then they refiled the charges on us and used Dyra Malone as a newly discovered witness against us when she was not newly discovered. She was present the night the murder happened. She was present the next morning when Calvin's house got cocktail bombed and the detectives went to speak to him the first time. She was present then. She was present the day that they took him downtown to the detective's office to speak with him. They even spoke to her then. So this notion about her being a newly discovered witness is a lie. They just twisted the story to seem as such so they can use her to refile my charges. That's all they was trying to do, was get us off the streets and back in the jail so they can have time enough to be able to put a case against us. That's all it was.
You know what's ironic? I had the pleasure of sitting down with, I'm not sure if you guys are, or anybody on here, this panel is familiar with Christopher Scott's case in Dallas.
I know it.
Back in 97. His case with the car is similar to what you're saying happened to you, Mr. Henderson. The car was in his name. A friend borrowed his car. And basically, that's how he was tied to a whole murder case and did some time. Luckily, he was able to, be taken out of his situation, and they gave him $1 million, which is nowhere near, in my opinion, enough to recover your life that has been shattered to pieces. Your not only just your life, your name, your reputation, and everything attached.
I've lost much during this time. I lost family, friends, time with my daughter. I came in, she was 2.5 years old. She's 28 now. Yeah, it's been hard. It hasn't been easy, but I just keep believing that one day somebody is going to hear my story and things will be rectified. So I'm very grateful for this panel tonight, for you guys having me on here, giving me this opportunity to speak. because I haven't had the opportunity to do this. And I've been writing organizations. I did have the Oklahoma Innocence Project investigating my case back in 2019. Unfortunately, when COVID hit, they wrote me and told me that they could no longer proceed forward with the investigation because they could not locate any exculpatory evidence on me, to clear my name. And that was crazy because I don't know what kind of exculpatory evidence is you looking for, because they never had no evidence to convict me from the beginning.
Wow.
I'm so glad you brought that up
Wait, I'm
about the
sorry,
Innocence
Mike. I just
Project.
wanted to get Mike. You wanted to say something real quick?
Yeah. I'm just here listening, taking all this in, and I have to say I'm sorry that the system has done you so unjustly. It's really just a load of crap that this happens. But I just wanted to know during the trial, because we didn't really talk about the trial. During the trial, what were some of the things your lawyer was saying? And I know for a fact, because I've seen and heard, the judge can overturn a jury's verdict. The judge has the power to do that. I don't know how
Yep.
any judge in their good faith, with no evidence, it sounds like, only a car, sounds like no one identified you being there. There was no murder weapon found. There was no evidence that you were there, and you had an alibi that they said you didn't have. So during the trial process, what was the consensus that you were getting as you got to the end to a verdict?
Well, going into that trial, I was at a disadvantage because I didn't even have a defense. I didn't have nobody coming to court on my behalf to give any other story other than the one that was being presented. My lawyer never went out to go speak to my then girlfriend at the time. He never did any investigations to check off into my story to even try to present a alternative of innocence. He never did anything. He never even came to see us the whole time we was in the county, but like 3 times. So I only seen the lawyer like 3 times before I even went to trial. And then when we went to trial, like I say, he never put on no witness on my behalf, or defense on my behalf. And every time the state put on one of their witnesses, it seemed like to me, it was like he was just asking more questions to elaborate upon what the DA's story and theory was, because he never said anything to kind of challenge what was being said against me. He was just trying to get them to elaborate more on what they was trying to say to prosecute me. So it felt like my lawyer was working with the state against me. And then when I was sitting there, he kept asking me, like, do I have any questions that I want to ask and things like that. Well, I'm 18 years old. I don't know nothing about none of this stuff. I ain't never been involved in anything like this. This is the first time I've ever been locked up as an adult. This is the first a felony that I've ever caught. You know what I mean? Like before this, I went to jail for juvenile curfew tickets. Like, this is crazy. So I had no experience with this particular arena, so I knew not what to expect. And I put all my faith and belief in this lawyer because he was a suit, And
Well, I want to interject real quick on that, Mr. Henderson, because you had your trial, unfortunately, with a public defender, and the sad thing is, they're supposed to be for the people, but however, public defenders are really working for the government. They really don't have the masses' best interests at heart, because they're going to get paid either way if you go to jail or not, unfortunately. So they do the bare minimum, especially with high profile cases like this. They are going to get paid, and it is what it is. So that's probably some of the I'm not going to say a lot of the reason why he didn't go talk to your girlfriend, and he didn't put in the steps necessary that a paid lawyer would have. Now, my question to you is, knowing that, at the time, did you ask for a lawyer, or were you just given the court-appointed lawyer without even being asked if you needed a lawyer?
But I asked for one, and due to the fact that it was 3 of us and they could not give us all the same lawyer from the public defender's office, they went out and got one from an independent office, and that's the one that I had, Everett Bennett. He was from an independent law firm, but he was still court appointed by the state.
Wait a minute. So, okay.
I'm glad you called it.
So you asked for, just correct me if I'm wrong. You asked for a lawyer initially, and because it was 3 of you, now did all 3 of you ask for a lawyer?
Yes.
Okay, so all 3 of you asked for a lawyer, and they couldn't get you a lawyer because of what?
They say we was, due to the fact that we was all co-defendants, that they had to provide an independent lawyer. Like, I guess they couldn't give us all lawyers from the, I guess,
the same
law firm.
The same.
Yes. Yeah. So they gave one of us a lawyer from their department, and then they went out and got independent lawyers for us, and they got the worst of the worst. Just put it like that, Mr. Everett Bennett.
Wow.
Yeah.
Mike, you wanted to add something, because it just seems like you're blown away by this, just like we are.
Wow. Yeah. I mean, you hear, like, it's wild, because I watch a lot of these cop shows, and people say it's just a show. It is not, people. These shows are based on real things that happen. They take real things that happen and they incorporate it. And it's just like something like that is just something you would see on a TV show just to make good TV. It's the first time I've actually heard it like happen. It makes me think of, and I don't know if the other 2 panelists have seen on Netflix, When They See Us, about the Central Park 5.
I've seen that, yes.
Yes. Well, I am a New Yorker, so I know that story.
Oh,
wow.
It's crazy because my case is strikingly similar to that. How these people said these young guys did this crime, and these guys, they had no evidence or no eyewitnesses to prove any of that. And that's exactly what happened in my case. These guys got hemmed up in this investigation, and through this investigation, they provided the police with our names, and the police just took our names and ran with it. They never looked for any alternative suspects or any of that. They just got our names, looked us up in the computer, seen that we have a background with gangs and things like that, and they had tunnel vision on us, and they just came with it.
So I want to stop you right there, Mr. Henderson. So, because that's a key point right there. It's a key factor what you just said. So you were already in the system from previous
yes, I was in the system. I was on
non-violent offenses, I assume.
Yeah, it was all non-violent. Yeah.
Okay, so you was in the system already for non-violent. It sounds, based off everything that you're saying and what you have presented to me, and myself and Mr. Williams here, from your case, all the paperwork, that they really didn't have much to build on that case, so they kind of scrapped, put pieces together. You guys were already, known in the system.
Yes, we was already known young gang members from Tulsa.
So this wouldn't be out of the ordinary by look on paper to say, oh, well, he's gang affiliate. That's the norm. The reason why I'm saying this to you, Mr. Henderson, and everybody on the panel, is because murder, drugs, and sexual assault is more likelihood for false convictions for African Americans. And the contributing factors to those convictions are misconduct, false confessions, racial bias, and eyewitness misidentification. And everything that I just named is everything that's tied into your case.
Yeah.
And more. And more.
And more. It's crazy.
I wanted to ask you, James. I'm just making sure I got the right case. Didn't the DEA come visit you when she worked for the Innocent Project?
No, I wasn't. No. It wasn't my
Okay.
case. Yeah.
Okay, I'm sorry. I'm sorry. I haven't had 60 cases come to me.
Nah,
I
the
just
Innocent
want.
Project was pretty good with me. They used to come see me like once a week or once every 2 weeks. They was very, very active upon the case with investigating and everything like that. It's just I believe when they went out to speak to certain witnesses, the certain witnesses was unwilling to um participate or, provide statements on my behalf because they no longer wanted to be involved or tied into this case. This case is 20 some odd years long, old. They didn't want to be reattached to it. And that's the problem that I'm having right now with acquiring this affidavit from my then girlfriend, is because she don't want to be attached to this case. She's telling me that, I have to find a different way to get myself out of prison because she don't want to come to court and testify on my behalf. And I find it crazy because she, in my opinion, is the key to my freedom. Because if she will write the affidavit on my behalf, I can then go forward with filing my post-conviction. And that would allow me to get back in court. But she won't allow me to do that because she is afraid that these people would tie her into this case some kind of way like they did me. So she don't even want to be involved.
So based on fear,
Yes, based
which
off
is
of it.
understandable. I totally understand it. She doesn't no longer want to be
Right.
tied to it. That's
Fear,
unfortunate.
fear has two meanings: forget everything and run, or face everything and rise. And
Okay.
and she should want to. She knows you're innocent. Uh,
Correct.
so for that alone, she should want to rise to the occasion and do what's right by you, because she's the only one that can verify that information. I mean, this is year 2000, so wasn't like now where you got cell phones and social media and cameras all over the place that can prove you were there at that time. You have to have a physical person. But
Correct.
the bullshit in this to me is that they had no physical evidence and no eyewitness to convict you, but they want an eyewitness to get you out.
Correct. That's
Right.
crazy.
That's the irony in this.
Yes. And it's making it harder for me to be able to do so because people are much older in age and they didn't went forward with their lives and they don't want to look back on nothing like this. And I, like you
Right.
said, I understand where she's coming from, but still, this is my life we're speaking about.
What does the
You
family
don't
of the
know?
victim say?
I don't know. I haven't spoke to them. I do know that when I went to trial, and they convicted us of this charge. When we went back to final sentencing, the family did not feel that we committed this crime. They was just complex with that. So they told the DA that they wanted to come down on the sentencing. So they offered me a 35-year sentence and they offered my co-defendant 25 years. But that was predicated upon us confessing to this crime. So
Yeah,
they
they
wanted,
allocute.
excuse me.
They wanted you to allocute.
Yes, they wanted us to get up on the stand and confess to this crime in order to get that time there, and we was unwilling to do it, and that's how we got stuck with the life sentence.
So you were sentenced with possibility of parole.
Yes, they sentenced me to life with possibility of parole. I'm up under the 65%, so I had to do 15 years before I came up for parole. So I came up for parole in 2015, and I've been going up every 3 years since. And every time I go up, they just keep denying me,
What's
even
the
though
reasoning?
I got multiple certificates in my jacket and I've been misconduct free for over 12 years and everything like that. And I've been in here teaching and raising these children that they keep bringing into this penitentiary, but yet they're not recognizing me for the change that I've brought forth. So I keep getting denied. I just got denied last year, matter of fact, and I go back up 2027.
And in all honesty, I can testify to that. My son is inside, and he was at his prison, and my son had no clothes, and I went to him, and he made sure my son got some clothes. So he does look out for people inside.
So what was the reasoning behind, well, what is the reasoning they're giving you each time you're up for parole that they're denied?
Unfortunately, they don't say. They don't never tell us the reasons for why we got denied or give us any suggestions of what we need to do to try to make it the next time. It's just when you go up for parole, your case manager come get you and tell you that, hey, you got a parole hearing coming up, and you need to fill out this parole packet, which is a questionnaire. And once you fill out the questionnaire, you turn that in, and that's it. Your jacket go up, and on the day of, and if you make it, then I guess the case manager calls you back into the office and lets you know that you made it to the second stage. But if you don't make it, they don't even say nothing. They don't even tell you that you didn't make it. You know that you didn't make it because ain't nobody came and talked to you.
Just radio
I can tell
silence.
you why. The parole board, I watch the parole hearings every month. When they deny guys that for murder, it's always because they're still a threat to society. That's what they put them down as. That's what it goes down as.
So it's the same reason across the board for everybody that's in there for murder, that's up for parole.
Yeah,
pretty much.
A blessing in it all is when we went up for parole last year, fortunately, my co-defendant made parole. They granted him parole. They passed him to the second stage, so they had him come up for a personal appearance. At that junction there, they told him that he would be more suitable with coming back before them with the commutation, and that they would probably give him relief then. Unfortunately, I didn't make it because when we went up for parole at that time, I was in a maximum facility. So I felt like due to the fact that I was locked down in a max facility was the reason for why they denied me parole. Because my jacket, if they looking at my jacket, then my jacket speaks for itself, as far as everything that I've been doing in here. So there's no reason for them to be denying me based off my behavior, because my behavior has been stellar since I've been in here.
But here's my issue with the parole board. Excuse me. How can they grant somebody parole, but they're going to leave the co-defendant still in there? If you're saying he served his time and he deserves to come home for a second chance, why doesn't the co-defender get to do it?
Right. Yeah. So my question is this: who are they saying that ultimately committed this crime, this murder to this victim? Was it you or your co-defendant?
They don't know. They don't know. What they did was establish that my co-defendant was the assailant on the passenger side of the vehicle by having the forensic officer testify that he found my co-defendant's fingerprint on the passenger side. So when they established that left me as the shooter.
So because your co-defendant's fingerprint was on the passenger side and they had no fingerprints of yours whatsoever.
Correct. They left me as the shooter because these witnesses was coming to court testifying that it was me and my co-defendant who did this, and that we was the ones who committed the crime. So they said that they established his fingerprint on the passenger side of the vehicle. So that left me as the second assailant, and that deemed me as the shooter. Even though they have no evidence of this, no eyewitness up to say that I was on the scene or even in the neighborhood. They can't even put me in the neighborhood. They have nobody to even testify that I was even in the neighborhood, but yet they are associating me with this crime.
And where did this shooting take place, supposedly?
January the 18th, 2000.
No. What location wise? Was this in a neighborhood, a store? Or?
No, it was at his residence. It supposedly occurred in his driveway at his residence.
So there's no footprints, no hand, no fingerprints, no nothing. And this man's residence that puts you.
Nothing. There's no connection to me whatsoever to this crime other than this dude, Ronnie Craven. Ronnie Craven is my friend. I grew up with this guy. He's the only person that connects me to this because I lent him my vehicle.
So how does Ronnie Craven know the guy?
Who, Jake, the victim?
Yes.
They were all friends. They lived in the neighborhood together. Yeah, Ronnie Craven, Calvin Harris, and Dyra Malone, they all knew the victim. They were all just previously at the victim's house. the night the crime happened. Right before the crime happened, they were all just at the victim's house, smoking and drinking and kicking it with him. He leaves his house to go to the movies to get some movies and some food at the grocery store or whatever, and come back home, and this shooting occurs.
So how was he not a person of interest during the investigation? How did he get out of that and turn into a witness? And not only just a witness, but he was a key witness.
Because he gave the police our names. He was willing to give them our names as suspects and then give them a story about how the crime happened, which is crazy because he gave detailed information about how this crime occurred, but then also told the police that he had nothing to do with the crime. So my question is how was you able to give detailed information as though you was a physical witness of these accounts, but then say that you have no knowledge of this crime and that you had no involvement in it? But from start to finish, he's telling these officers how this crime occurred from start to finish. But then he's also saying that he has nothing to do with the crime, which is crazy to me.
Yeah, because it seems like if you know detailed information, obviously, even hypothetically, if you don't commit the crime, if you know detailed information, though, still, you had to, depending on the details, you're gonna be looked at suspiciously too. Or you
Correct.
should be looked
It's
at
crazy because the details that he was given, some of those details didn't even match up, which is how they was establishing and determining that his story was not correct. So they was taking pieces of his story, and pieces of her story, and mixing them together and coming up with a theory and a story of what they think happened. And they ran with that, and they put those stories together to make a base of what happened, even though none of those stories added up because they all gave different stories. One saying that they seen something, one saying that they didn't see nothing, and then one saying that they never heard nothing. But they all saying that they was all present with each other riding around in my car that night.
And that's the thing. They pretty much had an idea in their head of what happened, or they fabricated a story or a narrative they wanted to push, and they made sure that they pushed that narrative, even if the story isn't the story. They made it the story.
Correct. So what they did is once Ronnie Craven gave up my name, Mr. Kaufman's name, and Mr. Grayson's name, and the detective Felton entered our names into the computer, and they seen that we was all gang members. They seen that we all have been to jail together. They seen that we all was close friends together. They fixated up on us, and they came and they raided each one of our homes, and they arrested each one of us. And from there, they proceeded forward with trying to put this case up on us. And Mr. Craven's, when we was going to preliminary, he had a sidebar with the DA right before we walked into the courtroom. It was me, Mr. Grayson, and Mr. Kaufman was in the holding cell waiting to go to court. The sheriffs come to the holding cell and get Mr. Grayson out the holding cell and take him back to the county and let him go. They drop the charges on him. So when we go into the courtroom, we questioning why did they let him go? They wouldn't tell us. So we go into the courtroom and we find out through the lawyers that Mr. Craven's just entered a whole different story, confessing that his previous story when he gave the names of Mr. Grayson, Mr. Coffin, and myself wasn't correct. So he just gave a whole nother version right before we walk into this courtroom, and they dismissed the charges on Mr. Grayson. And then we go into the courtroom, and Mr. Cravens get on the stand to testify, and he testified, and the judge stops the proceedings and tells the court that he don't believe that this guy is actually being truthful, and therefore he's going to dismiss this case and everything like that. And the DA jumps up and asks the court for a Rule 6 appeal, which made them keep us in the county jail for 2 more weeks. so they can then take that judge's decision to a higher judge and let that higher judge rule on that to make sure that he made the correct decision. And the higher judge said, yes, he made the correct decision, and they let us go. But while we was in the county for those 2 weeks, that's when the detectives went out and found Calvin Harris. That was just a strategic move on their part to keep us in jail while they went out and apprehended him. And then they put him in juvenile and they interrogated him again. And then this is when they get Dyra's statement. So when I go back to court to get my case dismissed, I'm sitting in the jury box with Miss Malone's statement in my hand. I'm reading her statement while I'm sitting in the jury box. My lawyer is telling me to disregard it, don't worry about it. Her statement is no different from the previous information that was, that was given, and that it shouldn't affect me. So the judge went forward and dismissed the charge. And we got out that day. So I got out the county jail with this woman's statement in my hand. A week later, they refiled the charges and locked us back up based off of this lady's statement. And that's how, and they proceeded forward with us to trial based off of her testimony.
So is the same lawyer still representing you?
No, unfortunately not. I have a lawyer at this time. Unfortunately, I've been trying to get one, and I had one, Yeah, I've been trying to get one, but I don't have one at this time. I was dealing with the Oklahoma Innocence Project, and then, like I say, when they got off the case, discontinued their investigation, the Oklahoma Appleseed got in contact with me, and we was corresponding. They asked to use my case in one of their stories. They was putting together something exposing Tulsa County for its corruption, and they asked that they use my case. And I told them, yeah, but they acted as though that they was going to help, but they never did. So at this present point in time, I don't have a lawyer.
I'd say the Innocent Project, people don't realize what the Innocent Project, if there's not a murder weapon involved, of evidence of a murder weapon, they won't take on a case.
Yeah, because they told me, they said due to the fact that the DNA was not the evidence that convicted me, so now they couldn't test that to show that I had nothing to do with this crime because it wasn't the evidence that was used to convict me. So I asked, what was?
And what was their reply?
Yeah, then what was used to convict me? It was just the statements of these witnesses. They said due to the fact that they testified that it was my car used, that I was guilty because it was my car, just because my vehicle. That's why I was found guilty, because they said my vehicle was used in this crime. But no one testified or seen my vehicle in this crime. Like, nobody testified to saying that I seen a blue Chevy in the neighborhood and I seen these people get out this type of car. No one never said that.
So being that your vehicle was introduced in this case, was it seized and used as evidence?
Yeah, they wasn't used as evidence. They seized it. They did an analysis on it and found no evidence on it. And then they sold my car in auction. It was never used in this case. They just apprehended it, took me, impounded it, searched it, don't find nothing in it, and then they sold my car in auction.
Wait a minute. So they didn't release it back to your family?
No, they did not. They sold my car in the auction. I never got my car back. Never called my people and told my people that my car was being seized. They never did none of that. When I went to inquiring about it, because I had been in the county for almost a year, I had my people reach out. They told my people that my car had been sold at auction.
Yeah, they sell them when it's a murder conviction. They don't. They sell the car. That's what they do. They don't give it to family.
And they sell it.
And the other thing is, what if hypothetically someone stole your car and committed a crime?
Yeah.
Like if someone stole your car, even if it's highly unlikely, but let's just say someone took your car, committed a crime at night, and then put your car back. You know, like I've seen
Yeah,
weird things, but if someone steals your car and commits a crime, like, like
But Mike, you're
that's
looking over the fact that they did test the car and it was inconclusive to find anything
yeah.
tying to this
They didn't
crime.
even find my fingerprints in my own vehicle. This is my car, and you don't even find my fingerprints in my vehicle. That's crazy. They don't find my vehicle. I'm nowhere involved in this crime.
So no gunpowder residue on your fingertips, none of that. None of that is found.
Went in my house. They searched my apartment. They don't find nothing in my apartment. No evidence that look like I'm even involved in robbing people. They find no ski masks, no gloves, no hoodies, no robbing material, none of that. They searched my car. They don't find nothing inside my car. No robbing materials, no gun shell casings, no nothing. No criminal paraphernalia nowhere in
Not
my
even a paper trail that you even got a gun anywhere or anything of that nature.
nothing. I'm just associated with the people that is testifying on me. They know I know one of these people. And he told them yes. When they showed him a picture of me, he said, yes, I know him. That's Mr. Henderson. And that's what got me associated with this case because he identified me. He said he knew me and that he was riding around in my car, that he had possession of my car the night this crime happened.
Well, Mr. Henderson, I am so sorry that you have had to endure this over the last 25 years and who knows how long, much longer you're going to have to put up with this, unfortunately. How did you and Miss Barnes here tie in with one another?
Well, I had a friend of mine at the yard that like she say her son was that I was on the same yard and my co-defendant's uncle was on that same yard. And I happened to discover Miss Barnes through him because she was dealing with him, helping him out with some things that he had going on. And he told me that if I needed a freedom fighter in my corner, that I needed to reach out to Miss Barnes. So that's what I did. And she has been supporting me and standing by me ever since, I reached out, and I'm grateful for that. So thank you, Miss Emily.
And Miss Barnes, you're the founder of Hooked on Justice. And from my
Yes, ma'am.
understanding, you guys are actually having a rally tomorrow. Can you tell us about that?
Yes, it's from 10 to 2 at the Oklahoma State Capitol. We'll be right in the front. We'll be out front. We're highlighting 10 cases right now. We will have an additional 30 tables set up with people with their own stories. So altogether, it's really 40 stories that will be there tomorrow. So we're asking people to come out, stop by the tables. Every table is going to have information on their loved ones' cases. Pick up the information, read it, compare these cases because I'm telling you, they all are similar. Mr. Henderson, his family will be speaking tomorrow at the rally. Representative Humphrey is actually hosting this rally with me, which I'm so grateful for him. He has been the biggest supporter. He is the only legislator that I got to help me support what's going on inside these prisons. And it's now opened his eyes to where he's starting to push wrongful conviction cases for people.
That's awesome.
So we're going to be out there all day tomorrow. Please come out. We're going to have some entertainment. We have this girl, Egypt. I think she's 12 or 13 now. She will be doing a praise dance. Her father actually is wrongfully convicted with a life sentence. And
Wow.
the way she expresses it and tries to advocate for people is through her praise dance.
That's amazing.
So it's going to be a good show. And then we have we do have some Indian drummers that are going to be there. One of our cases is about he's Native American. So they're going to come and do a praise dance and all. It's going to be good, man. Everybody just needs to come out. We got a great lineup. Senator Connie Johnson will be speaking. Perry Lott which he was just recently exonerated not too long ago. He'll be there to tell his story. And then we got Julius Jones, his sister, and the director of the Julius Jones Institute will be there speaking on Julius's case. So, and then Tremaine Wood, he just got his execution date scheduled for October 13th. His mom will be speaking.
That's awesome.
This is her last cry for help. He's out of his appeals at this point. So her last hope is that her little 15 minutes of standing up on stage telling his story, she might be able to get help for him to keep him alive. So, yeah, man, it gets deep, and then we have Jeffrey Davis. They gave him 250 years. Witnesses even said he wasn't at the scene. Then we find out, I'm saying y'all need to look into this one. Then we find out his lawyer quit during his trial, and a new lawyer came on. There is no evidence that this man was a lawyer. We literally got a letter from the bar association from the bar association that he was not even a lawyer at this time. We don't know where this man came from. Wow. And we can't even get the transcripts because they never transcribed them. So, yeah, Oklahoma is bad. I mean, it's deep. The more cases that come to me and the more I hear, people come to me all the time. Oh, Emily, can you recommend a lawyer for me? I don't even recommend lawyers no more because I don't even think there's any good ones left.
That's unfortunate.
I really do think, I shouldn't say that. There are some good ones, but I think there's more bad than good.
So what can the people do? What can we do? The viewers do? Just normal people. What could we do to help?
Write your governor. Write to your legislators. Hey, this man's wrongfully convicted. Why is he still sitting in prison? Why is nothing being done? We have to start attacking these legislators because once we get the legislators in and they realize it, then it goes to the court. And that's what's going on with Richard Gossett's case. They went to Humphrey. Humphrey, when they went to other legislators, and they put that whole board together, and then they had, I don't remember how many lawyers to be exact, all saying that he was wrongfully convicted. You have to go through your legislators. Share their story on Facebook. Let their name be known. I mean, you just have to, the more his story gets put out there, the more attention it'll bring, and hopefully somebody will pick it up for him.
Mike, you had something to add?
Yeah, when she said there's bad lawyers, I don't think there's bad lawyers. I just think there's not enough lawyers that care. And just like there's not enough teachers that care, just like there's not enough police officers, firefighters, doctors, nurses that care, because now they just look at it as a paycheck, not as something that, as it to uplift their community. That's the first thing. And the other thing I wanted to say is, I don't know. Another thing I watched was they did Amazon did a oh my gosh, did a thing on Meek Mill when he was in prison, and how it was a struggle for him. Now the only reason I bring him up, other than because typically when a famous person gets locked up, they get out pretty easy. They pretty much can buy their way out, if you will, right?
Unless you're Diddy.
Yeah, or R. Kelly.
Right.
But pretty much most people with money can buy their way out, and they weren't letting him out. They were doing, that judge was doing everything to keep him in, which supports my earlier statement that the judge holds the power even over the jury. But when he started his prison reform, like it was him. I think Jay-Z was involved, Robert Kraft, a few other people were involved. My question is, how do we get things like this to that level? Like when, because it starts with us, we understand that. But when you're talking wrongly convicted and you see these people do these things, how do we get those stories to catch those eyes that can really just swoop in and help with a little humph in a situation like this?
It's honestly, it's so hard because unfortunately, people don't care until it happens to one of their loved ones.
Right.
100%.
So the only thing that I can do is keep using my platform, keep putting people's stories out there, keep trying to educate the community about our systems. Because out of every 20 people that listen, one does start to get involved. So it's just, you just have to be determined and just keep educating people, man. You just got to educate people, because unfortunately, like I said, until what happens to somebody's loved one, they could care less.
Yeah, and that's the bad thing about Tulsa County. Since I've been in, I had the unfortunate pleasure of meeting a lot of guys that has been wrongfully convicted. Like I did time with DeMarco Campbell, Carpenter. I did time with Malcolm Scott, and all of these guys. Hold on, excuse me.
I had to laugh because a lot of people think I advocate because of my son being in prison. It had nothing to do with my son. I started advocating before my son even got locked up or started even getting in trouble with the law, but people got to understand, because a lot of people, they think, like I say, they think it's because of my son and now, of course, my husband. No, my husband and my son don't have life sentences, and I'm grateful for that. I'm doing this rally. I'm driving 2 hours to the city to do this rally because I believe that our system is flawed and these guys deserve to come home and they don't deserve what they get. I'm not, this ain't about my husband or my son because they're not even wrongfully convicted. I care, and people need to start caring. People need to realize 85% of the incarceration population comes back into our communities. People need to pay attention to what's going on in our prisons. Why would you not want people to be properly rehabilitated that are coming back into your community? So people need to pay attention. Where is your tax money is really going? Because it's not going for medical or food for the inmates.
Very true.
So like, we just got to keep educating. We just got to keep doing this. What we're doing right now, this is what we got to keep doing.
But I think you answered that question that you just asked already earlier. You said for every inmate that goes into the system, that's tax dollars. That's money for the state. When you look at everything that an inmate has to do day to day, he mentioned he's been teaching classes. They don't have to pay a teacher to do that now. If you got the inmates cleaning bathrooms, you don't have to pay a janitor to do that now. You got them gardening, growing crops or what have you. You have them doing all these different things, and all the money that they get, that's like just free labor. But for his situation, him doing all this and putting in the work, that's rehabilitation. That's something that, especially that you can say, okay, he's come in, he's understood the assignment. He has, he may say, okay, I'm here, I shouldn't be here, but I'm doing what I have to do to hopefully one day someone will put that green stamp on that paper and say, let him go. Let him enjoy his life. And that's the issue is some people go in there who
I'm
just
sorry. I just made me think of it.
Go ahead.
Another thing people got to remember, this crime happened when he was 18 years old. He was still a kid.
Yes, indeed.
A child's mind don't get fully developed until it's 24 or 25. And I'm not talking about you because you're wrongfully convicted. When are people going to stop looking at the child that committed the crime and start looking at the man that they became now? Why they've been in prison?
Well, the problem is when it comes to our community, then sad to say this, but this is very true. and not to offend you, Miss Barnes, but
Oh no, you're fine. You're fine.
Caucasians look at black little boys as violent, aggressive when they hit the age as soon as they hit the age of 10, to be honest with you now. So if you're looking at a little child at the age of 10 being aggressive and violent and they're scared of them, this is the type of thing that happens because of fear and racial bias. And it's been
Right.
happening for decades, and it's going to keep happening unless we start holding these people accountable. And that's on
I
both
agree.
sides of the fence, not just our community, but your community, Mexicans, Puerto Ricans, Dominicans,
Right.
all across the board.
Yeah, and that's crazy that you say that.
But I want to take this time out to personally thank you, Mr. Henderson, for giving us your time. And because you're putting yourself out there right now, on the phone, speaking with us, putting your story out, your 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 emotions out there, and we want to thank you for giving us that pleasure to get your story out even further to eyes and ears looking at this stream tonight. Miss Barnes, you as well, we want to thank you for taking the time out to sit down and speak with us and give perspective on what you do and how you help our community and our men get out of situations such as this. We salute you for all the work that you do in your community and other communities that you have worked in. Mike, did you want to add on before we wrap up?
Absolutely. One thing I also did want to add was you were talking about, us being looked at as criminals at a young age.
Mm-hmm.
President Trump went on record to say that black people are criminals just recently.
Mm-hmm.
Just want to put that
Yep.
out there as perspective that the leader of this country,
Mm-hmm.
as disgusting as a human as he is, has went out there and said it. And people sit up here and make excuses for him. It's disgusting. It's
Right.
utterly
Well, I will
disgusting.
let you know. I don't consider him my president.
Yeah, I just listening to you guys speaking about rehabilitation and how this system is supposed to be set up on such. And unfortunately, it's not. Because again, yes, I entered into this prison at the tender age of 18. And since I've been in, I have done some amazing things. I have accomplished 3 VOTECs up under my belt. I went to college for sociology and psychology. I've mentored children. I've ran scare straight programs. I've taught tasks, which is teaching and saving kids. I've even worked for True Energy, which is a job that I held down for a number of years. Like I've been doing some amazing things inside these walls to try to get these people to recognize my rehabilitation, but unfortunately, they still holding me to this crime and treating me like I'm a criminal, even though I'm not. I have yet to commit any criminal acts since I've been in. Again, I've been misconduct free for a total of 12 years. And yet I still cannot make parole or commutation. So right now I have a petition online that I hope everybody will be willing to sign to try to see if I can get some sort of action on my commutation, because I am currently trying to submit one right now to try to see if I can get some relief from this situation because
And
of
we
what
will
they
be sharing that petition on the platform after tonight's show. So if you guys would please have a heart, look into it, look into what he's presented, and sign a petition, we would be grateful for that.
Absolutely.
And can I add something real quick to that?
Sure.
Also, if you honestly feel that he deserves to be free, which he does, we need support letters. We need support letters from the community saying, hey, I heard this man's story. I believe he's wrongfully convicted. He needs to be released. If you are willing to read a letter, I mean, it's only got to be one little paragraph.
That
You
would
can
help out a
email it to
whole
me
lot,
at
because right now,
hooked-on-justice.
right now it's just me and my fiance that's pushing this narrative. Again, since I've been incarcerated for this past 25 years, I've lost a lot. you know, a lot of friends, a lot of family. So I don't have an extensive support group. Again, it's just me and my fiance and people like you guys that are standing with me in my struggle. So I just want to say thank you all for having me tonight and giving me this opportunity to get my story out there.
No
Absolutely.
problem. And I would probably suggest looking into Christopher Scott. He, like I said, he's out. He went through the same thing you did, and he actually runs a service that helps people like you in this situation. Him and two other guys that were in the same situation. They all three of them run that business. I would try to look into him and see if he can assist as well.
Great.
I'm on it. I'm on it.
All right. So again, I want to thank you guys for taking the time out tonight to speak with something for the culture. Mike
Absolutely.
Williams, did you want to give any shout outs before you get out of here?
Absolutely. I want to say, you know, I'm in your corner. You know, anything I can do, let me know. Anything. If it's a share, if it's a letter, like you just said, a letter, a video, whatever it takes, I'm here. You know, definitely keep doing all the work you're doing. Good luck at the rally tomorrow.
Indeed.
And thank you for the opportunity to come on to the show and be a co-host for the evening. Definitely was it's a lot of shocking moments for me to actually hear something like this happen, not just see it on TV or read about it, but to hear it, it's another thing, and it's unfortunate, but I'm definitely hoping maybe even every little bit helps for sure. And
Yes,
And
it
prayer.
does.
And prayer. Don't forget in prayer.
and like I
Yes.
always say, I end my show, and this is just what I say at the end of my show, is I say, be better than you were yesterday, but be prepared tomorrow to be better than you are today.
That's right.
Mhm.
Amen.
I agree. Well, again, I am your host, Jazzy J. This has been a very enlightening episode tonight, and I please find it in you guys' hearts to have a heart yourself and look into the not just this case, but many other cases like this, and find out what you can do in your own community to help some of these people come home to their families. A lot of these people, not just men, but a lot of these men and women have kids that they're missing, mothers, families, all of that across the board. So let's do our part as brothers and sisters and help one another out. I'm Jazzy J. We'll be back for another episode next week. Y'all have a great night.
You too.
Thank you.